Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule royal. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is A Kingdom Divided, right? And division is in the air, right? All over America, all over EU, right? All over everywhere. This is Revelations 19 and 10. Says, and I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not, I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. It says, worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shah is the spirit of prophecy, right? And that's the spirit that we are in, right? You know, proclaiming the many prophecies as written in the Bible, you know, and searching them out, seeking them out here in these last days. So one major prophecy is the vision. The scriptures say kingdoms divided shall not stand. So when we see the vision happening, you know, we bring it up to show you that the words are written are faithful and true. You know, the things are happening. All right. This is Jeremiah 8:28 and 8. It says, Jeremiah 28 and 8, it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Right. So we're back, right? Prophets, the men of the Lord are back doing the same thing we were doing in times past, which is prophesying to the world, the whole world, you know, of everything that's to come. Okay? So I'll give you some headlines. It says German party leader urges to resume gas supplies from Russia, repaired Nord Stream. So this is a separate party in Germany, you know, one of the basically lesser parties. They came in second place to voting, but they're speaking out, you know, against what the ruling party is doing. All right. And basically how they work, how the elites who run the world work, they they blackmail, they buy out, they persuade with bribes and things like that. But then you have people that, you know, is not at the top, that's at the bottom, they don't care nothing about that. So they're divided. All right. It says EU to announce sanctions against Israel next week. News outlet. So we got the EU now starting to put sanctions on Israel, which is kind of crazy. And then we have Elon Musk announces creation of New Party America. So even Elon Musk is, trying to make a new party in America. Okay, so the division, which is good. This is Obadiah 1 and 1. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Right? So pretty much that's what's happening, right? With this division and these different nations, coming against, America, Israel, and the things that are being done here in these last days and sanctioning them, which we'll get into these articles, it says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. Right, so it's prophesied that these devils will go down. Talking about America and Israel, of course, but all heathen, right? All heathen will ultimately be brought low, put into subjection, right, under the ruling, the rulers, which will be the Israelites, right? Yahushua comes back, set up the kingdom, and then the Israelites rule. It says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some grapes? It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? So the Most High Yahweh is going to completely, take everything away from Esau. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in thee. Okay, so the signs of Esau, basically Babylon, America, and Israel have deceived them, laid wounds under them, and are plotting against them. And that's what we're seeing happening in these last days. Another thing I just seen was the fact that Turkey is expecting F-35 jets from America, while Trump is in office. And Turkey has been moving, wishy-washy with America. And it's prophesied in the scriptures that eventually Turkey will be joined with Russia to come against America. So we're seeing these things happen where they're getting all these benefits, eating the bread with America, getting these benefits from America and Israel and whatnot. But ultimately, eventually, they're going to come against America, right? With basically with the same tools that America has supplied them with, whatever missiles they gave to their so-called allies or fighter jets and whatnot. And we see Iraq got all type of military hardware, and are parading it in the streets now. Okay, so get to these articles a little bit. It says German party leader urges to resume gas supplies from Russia, repair Nord Stream. Right, because this is what I was talking about. These voting that has been going on. I've mentioned this, that Germany, in that area over there wouldn't be too happy with America because the Nord Stream pipeline was, destroyed, and basically that was supposed to be helping Germany and all of that. And they destroyed it, to forward, which we know now that they're making a new pipeline and they want to be controlled by them and not by Russia. And even the guy here goes to say he doesn't care who controls the Nord Stream pipeline. Let's just get it up. And then they say, even America, maybe you can control it. But really, they're in dire straits. Germany, they're struggling. And that's because of America, right? So they're divided. This goes into them hating America and Israel. All right. So it says, according to Tino, agreements with the U.S. could lead to a situation where, I should look this up. It's paradoxically. Right, paradoxically, it says in a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory way, the Americans could even be the operator and benefit from Russian gas supplies, which is most likely never going to happen. But they're trying to say anything. It says this would immediately take the burden off our economy, right? So, like I said, this is a far left party, that has took their stance and said, hey, listen, we need this Nord Stream pipeline to be up and running because our country, our area is dying. It says the German authorities should resume Russian gas supplies and repair the Nord Stream pipeline. Co-chair of the Alternative for Germany Party, Tino, told reporters at a press conference. So this party doesn't see the benefit in sanctioning Russia and not being allowed to buy gas from Russia. They don't see the benefit in that. And this was put on them by America. So what they see is that it's not benefiting them to do what America is telling them to do. It says this failed energy reform policy of the German government, which aims to transition to renewable energy sources, must be stopped. So this is against what the elites want. Maybe this is why this party is not in control, fully, but it's still, the division is there, right? So they don't want the 2030 agenda. Said it must be stopped. He said, we demand an extension of the operating life of coal-fired power plants, as well as the resumption of gas supplies from Russia. Nord Stream must be repaired, and it does not matter who the operator is in this case, the lawmaker emphasized. So they're trying to continue in society and just, live peacefully. Because they see that they're dying, It says, according to him, agreements with the U.S. could lead to a situation where, paradoxically, that's a good word. It sounds contradicting because basically it should never happen, but we have no other option. It says the Americans could even be the operator and benefit from Russian gas supplies. It says this would immediately take the burden off our economy. So they're burdened right now, right, for trusting in this devil. The scriptures say, Babylon have been the golden cup in the Lord's hand, therefore the nations are mad. So they're upset. It says on September 27, 2022, Nord Stream AG reported unprecedented damage on 3 strings of the offshore gas pipelines of the Nord Stream system. Later, Swedish so I don't have it. I'm not gonna go to YouTube there. Let's see what the meaning is. It says a scientist who studies earthquake and related phenomena, right, such as seismic waves and plate tectonics. Okay, so he's like, looking at the ground, looking at the earthquakes, you know. So it says this Swedish, let's just say scientists. This Swedish scientist said they had identified 2 explosions on the route of the Nord Stream pipelines on September 26, 2022. So it was an explosion. So somebody destroyed it. It says as a result, only 1 string of the Nord Stream 2 remained intact. Following the damage to the gas pipelines, the Russian Prosecutor General's office opened an investigation into an act of international terrorism. It is currently impossible to determine the timeline for restoring the gas pipelines to working order. Right. So the point is, we have a party that is going against the grain of what the global elites want. So that's that vision there. Okay. This is EU to announce sanctions against Israel next week. News outlets. So which is interesting. Says several scenarios are reportedly under consideration, including the complete or partial suspension of the EU-Israel Association Agreement and sanctions against officials, servicemen, and citizens. So the EU now is trying to sanction people for what they're doing in Gaza right now. It says the EU-Israel Association Agreement, in force since 2000, established a framework for political and economic cooperation between the European Union and Israel. So they're trying to stop that. It's a key aspect of it. So this also goes into the fact, which we're going to get, they're divided. They're beginning to hate the horde, right? Being tied to America and Israel is no longer the new wave, right? Because the world is mad at America and Israel, and people are trying to separate themselves, right? Because you have things growing behind the scenes like BRICS. It says a key aspect of the agreements and the clause stating that relations are based on respect for human rights and democratic principles, right? So the morals is completely wrong to me. One of my favorite scriptures here. So they see that. This is Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32:5, it says, the vile person shall no more be called liberal, right? So they're like, yo, what you're doing goes against all agreements that we have put in place. It says, the vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the troll said to be bountiful. It says, for the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against Lord Yahweh, to make empty the souls of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to be fed. So they're no longer with what they got going on over here. That's, they said is what holds this agreement together is respect for human rights and democratic principles, which acts as an essential element. Yeah, so this thing is out the window. Yeah, the EU has launched a review of this agreement, specifically focusing on Israel adherence to its human rights clause, particularly in light of the situation in Gaza. Yeah, right. So yeah, they're going to most likely get rid of this thing since they're talking about it, because they're not adhering to this at all. It says EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas will announce options for sanctions against Israel next week in connection with its military operation in the Gaza Strip. The Interactive news outlet reported, citing sources. Right, so they got something going on July 15th. We'll get down there. Israel is supposed to, Benjamin Netanyahu is supposed to be talking about the situation right now. It says EU foreign ministers are expected to discuss these potential measures on July 15th. On the same day, Israel is scheduled to present a report on improvements of the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Right. So basically, if this thing happens and, Benjamin Netanyahu probably doesn't, do what he might do, like drop a low-yield nuclear weapon on Iran or something to like stop this from happening, then they'll have questions about, you know, is the agreement still going on or is not going on? But usually that's what happens. You know, when there's things to do, he finds a way to not do that. And I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, right, the Prime Minister of Israel. You know, he doesn't want to face, judgment for what he's doing right now. It says several scenarios are reportedly under consideration, including the complete. I read this, right? It says additionally, the sources said that the EU may restrict trade with Israel, impose an arms embargo, or suspend scientific and technical cooperation. Yeah, so hey, they're really upset. It says the news pointed out that suspending the association agreement with the EU is only possible when unanimous support for national governments, right? The news outlet sources say it is most likely the EU will limit itself to sanctions against specific individuals like Benjamin Netanyahu, as Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and Norway have already done. You know, so whoever is up there in the government, allowing these things to happen, they might get sanctions put on them where, that their assets are frozen. You know, kind of like how Russia or Putin, they froze Russian like $50 billion of assets that was placed in like EU and America banks and whatnot. And then they started using that same money and gave it to Ukraine. So they say, somebody said that was illegal. One of the other Scott Riddler, Conor McGregor, one of those guys, we all watching, right? So it says EU, right? Yeah. So hey, they're divided right here. Just good news for us, the elect, the hopeful elect of Israel, who's watching the prophecies, measuring the time diligently in itself. So we got Elon Musk announced his creation of New Party America. He noted that when the country is being bankrupted by excessive spending and bribery, so who's doing this is billions and billions of dollars in tax money to Israel. And bribery is Donald Trump getting a gold pager from Israel, and also benefits from Israel. He has to listen to what his backers, pretty much the people that backed him and gave him money and helped his him becoming president. That's bribery and all of that. Him getting planes from the Arabs. It says its citizens live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Yeah, and that goes into Isaiah 19, where this dude Trump will be a cruel lord, and a fierce king. He's ruling like a king, and everyone is seeing it. Elon Musk seems to be upset about that. All right, so it's an American entrepreneur, Elon Musk, announced the creation of a new political party, America, following the results of the vote held on his page in the social network X. It says, by a factor of 2 to 1, you want a new political party and you shall have it. He said in a post on X, he noted that when the country is being bankrupted by excessive spending and bribery, its citizens live in a one-party system, not a democracy. He said, today the American Party has formed to give you back your freedom, he wrote on X. More than 1.2 million users in the social network took part in the vote. It says 65.4% voted for the creation of the new party. So that's majority. I mean, a lot, I guess. So whoever voted, So, pretty much they're divided all over. People are saying they want a whole new party. They don't want a Republican, Democrat no more. It is like none of these have benefited us, in any way. Matthew 12:25, it says, and Yahweh shall know their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right. So they're trying to throw one party out the window to make a new party. Like that's going to help them. So that's the point there. It is Revelations 17. Now just start at 7. Revelation 17:7, it says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not. It shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. So ultimately, the Roman Empire fell, and it rose again through America, right? What we have, the Renaissance period, the rebirth, right? What came out of that is America. Okay, it says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of the life from the foundation of the world, when they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is, right? So when America comes in, people's like, whoa, this is America, it's so great. you know, and all of that. That's why people are still waiting for it to get better. You know, it's like, oh no, make America great again. It's gonna get better, you know, whatnot, because they're marveling after, you know, after America, wondering after America, but not the hopeful elect. It says, and here the mind which have wisdom, the seven heads are seven mountains in which the woman sit upright. So going into your governments, your kingdoms. It says, and there are seven kings, five are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So America is here, right? And his time is almost up. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. It is of the seven and goeth into perdition. So America is going to destruction real soon. We see that happen now, right? It says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, right? Because America is ruling, right? And America has these vassal states like the EU, NATO, right? That's ruling with America. It says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So that's why, you know, pretty much everyone looks to America. America is allowed to, you know, persuade their actions and what they do and tell them, okay, well, we're not going to buy gas from this person, or we're going to sanction Iran. We're not going to do trade with Australia. However they want to do it, America is telling his people what to do. It says, but these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. Right, so they're going to try to go to war with Yahushua when he returns, and he's going to return in the midst of World War III while they're fighting each other, which is going to go down here in this plane. Right, it says, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Right, so the people that are with Yahushua are his men, the hopeful elect, right, the Israelites. It says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horror sitteth of peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Yeah, it's all the different people that America has heaped unto himself, right? Went over to different lands, you know, put his embassies there and whatnot, and made them people pretty much like himself, try to change customs. Yeah, at one point in period of time, Kamala Harris, he went over there to, I believe it was like Africa or something, trying to push the LGBTQ on them. She almost, you know, got the rocks thrown at her like IUIC. She had to get up out of there. I don't know what happened exactly, but I know they didn't accept it. They didn't accept what she was talking about. Revelation 17 and 16, it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the Lord. So this is going to see your EU, your NATO, right? Many nations join, you know, to America, all the NATO EU nations, pretty much, right? It says, in 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the Lord. It shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So a separation will come, a division will come. They're gonna break away from her, which is America. These nations are gonna, you know, slowly but surely break away from her, and then ultimately burn her with fire in World War III. You know, that's why I gave you Obadiah 1:7 in the beginning, where it says her allies will, you know, have laid under. It says, all the men, Obadiah 1:7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding them. Right, so Esau don't even see it. Right, Esau don't even see what's coming. Okay. Yeah. Revelation 17 and 16, it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the Lord, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Yahweh hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. So the Most High allowed these NATO nations in EU to be stuck with America for a period of time, but now we see the end has manifested itself, and these nations are starting to break away and be upset about the current, trajectory of things happening in the world. Okay, it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And that is America. America is currently reigning, right? People even say it, the decline of America, right? America is no longer ruling. You know, we're seeing who's next, right? So that was America that was ruling the world. So with that, you know, Lord willing, that if I can lesson, I'll say shalom to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.